Hey YouTube, it's your girl Dr. J, and I thought I would come and do a video on the importance of continuing with um, giving your children information from all the different types of learning styles, even as they get older. I see a lot of homeschoolers that as soon as their children hit kind of 12, 13, 14 years old, they almost become pretty much solely visual verbal in their homeschooling, which is basically they do mostly just book work. And I would say that definitely you want to try as much as possible to continue to give your children auditory information, hands-on, kinesthetic learning, interpersonal, intrapersonal, even music based learning opportunities, even as your children get older. And I see this. I've seen the results of this even in my classroom. I've been teaching at the collegiate level for about 16 years now. And I can tell you that my students that come in and understand what is their learning style and try to make sure that they can create opportunities for them to get information through their best learning style, they have the most success in the college classroom, and they have a much easier time transitioning to college. And they also tend to do better even after college. They tend to get jobs much faster because they've used those creative outlets to produce something that shows that they're more than just a piece of paper with a degree, date, and a GPA. They have something that they can show for the things that they've done. So in this video, I want to show you how to continue to provide not just book information for your older children, but to provide various types of learning opportunities for them as well. I talk a lot about my kids being dyslexic, and people go, oh, okay, yeah, I understand using audiobooks for your kids when they're 6 and 8 years old, but I still use audiobooks a lot. I learn much. I consume information much better when I get it through auditory, and so I strive to do that as much as possible. So let's take something like, Ayn Rand. I'm a big Ayn Rand fan. This is Atlas Shrugged, and this book, okay, it's 1,070 pages in this particular format. It's a long book. Okay, so what you can do is, if your child has to consume a long book, get the audiobooks. Okay, this set actually has 50 CDs because it's unabridged. So what you want to do is get audiobooks for your children, especially if it's information that they have to consume, or if they're really on a roll and they really want to read a lot of books, then get them audiobooks. They are absolutely acceptable in the college environment. If your child does have something like dyslexia or any other type of reading struggle, they will be able to get their textbooks and everything else in an audio format. If your child is just a really good auditory learner, they're going to have permission to record most of the lectures in their classrooms, and you're going to want to encourage them to do that. So keep giving your child information that caters to their primary learning style. Of course, your child has to be able to consume visual verbal information. Your child needs to be able to read. But that doesn't mean that everything that they get in your homeschool has to be read. Using auditory information is absolutely acceptable. It's done in the college classroom. It's done in many workplaces. So don't feel like you have to push your child to, okay, go and read 1,000-page books just because they're there and everybody expects you to have read it. No, you want to get your child the information, but get it to them in the best way possible. I showed this model along with some other models when I talked to you guys about how my kids were doing human anatomy, and a lot of times people go, oh, look, that's such a cute toy. This actually isn't a toy. This model and the other models that I showed you guys are actually used by medical students. Hands-on models are used by medical students quite often because you have a lot of doctors that are kinesthetic learners. You have a lot of doctors that are visual learners. They love hands-on opportunities to see. They want to see things, see how they work, and see how things manifest together. So having your child still using models, still having an opportunity to see things hands-on, that is still going to be something that you can be doing with them and should be doing with them even if they're older. A lot of people think flashcards are just for kids. No. Okay, these are medical flashcards. These are by Kaplan, and as you can see, let me just pull one out. Like this one, it has, the muscle systems, and there's information on the back for muscle system. And this, set goes through all the major human anatomy areas that a doctor would be studying for in medical school. It has 310 flashcards, and flashcards are great for people who are visual learners. They're great for people who like to get information in small chunks. They're great for your child learning how to test themselves before they come up on, a test. So getting flashcards to prepare them for the SAT, ACT, anything like that. Don't think that those things that you use when they were 4, you can't use that anymore because they're not 4 anymore. If that is a good learning style for them, you want to stick with it even as they get into higher level subjects. Hands-on. We have this. This is a internal combustion engine, and it's one that you make. And a lot of people go, oh, wow, those are great little toys for kids. But this kit is actually designed for children that are 12 and up. It's designed for teenagers and adults because you make a working engine. And that's going to be something that's really hard for a younger child to do. So just because something may look like a toy doesn't mean that it is. This has, the end result is you have a real engine that works. So your child would be able to see hands-on, like, this is how it actually works. I get what the book says. I get how the book says things work, but to be able to create it and design it and build it yourself, that's still a really good thing that your child should be doing, even if they're 16, 17, 18 years old. Another hands-on area that a lot of people love. This is a Lego. This is the Mindstorms. This is the old kit NXT, and this is the new EV3 that just came out. Either of these kits would be great for an older child. A lot of adults who still are Lego fanatics still use Lego Mindstorms. If your child can program either on brick programming or computer programming with Mindstorm, they're going to be able to do a lot of cool stuff. They're going to learn a lot of information that's going to be very valuable for them as they go through college and even into their work world. So don't shy away from it. Just because it's something that they thought was cool at 8 years old doesn't mean that it still doesn't have value for them even when they're 17 or 18 years old. So Lego Mindstorms, great way for your child to still do some hands-on engineering, programming, building type work even as they're older. A lot of times people think that you got to get real serious with things when you're dealing with older kids, but we all are very used to playing games with kids when they're little. When your children are 6 and 7 and 8 years old, games as a part of school time, it makes perfect sense. And I see a lot of times with homeschoolers, they get so serious when their children start to get older that they're like, okay, no, this is no time for games. It's always a time for games. This is a language arts based game, and it is called Bethont. And it has, things like idioms and jargon and dialect, but it really tests your child when it comes to their understanding of words and how words work. This one talks about word origin. So it's based on the original meaning of the words that were used to form its name. What animal must have looked like a huge shingle-clad worm to the Greeks? Okay. And so the answer is crocodile, because from Greek's krokodilos, from krok, shingle, and drillos, worm. Okay, so, could your 4-year-old answer that? Probably not. Could your 10-year-old answer that? Probably not. Should your 18-year-old be able to answer that? Yeah, if they're going to do well on the SAT, they should be able to answer that question. And it's kind of fun being able to answer these questions playing a game and battling it out with mom and dad, as opposed to sitting there in the dark room just studying that words in the book. So just because you use games and they were great at 6 doesn't mean you can't still use games at 17 and 18 years old. Another thing that I recommend that all parents that are homeschooling teenagers have is a video camera. Doesn't have to be great, doesn't have to be the best, highest quality, but get them a video camera. Why? Because if you guys go through some of the videos here on YouTube, there are some great videos where teenagers, college students, young adults, they've done videos and made like comedies or musical parodies of very advanced scientific concepts, mathematic concepts, even English language concepts that they had fun doing it, but you knew that they really learned very deeply these various concepts in order to make these songs and plays and parodies. And again, it's something that's fun for kids. They have a motivation for doing it, even if you're not going to put the video on YouTube. Just them making the video and having fun with it and telling them, okay, you guys can do it. It can be funny, it can be a rap, it can be a rhyme, it can be a poem, it can be, spoken word. It just has to be accurate. You have to show your research, you have to use your cite your sources. But being able to show kids that is such an amazing opportunity. So you want to make sure that you do that as much as possible. So get them a video camera and let them start to make their own videos, make their own kind of teaching videos, and teach you some of the things that they're studying. So that's another good thing that you can do. One thing that I've noticed is that a lot of people, they start to shy away from doing arts and crafts. Did you need something? No, you just looking? Okay, Bugga. You can come in here if you like. Another thing that I see people do with their older kids is they start to shy away from arts and crafts. Guys, don't stop doing arts and crafts. Just because it's something that you did when your child was 2 doesn't mean that it still doesn't have merit even with the older child. So what's going to change is that with older children, young adults, you are going to have a much higher quality art material that you give them. So I know for us, we didn't bring anything in this house that wasn't water-based and washable when they were really young. But as they get older, they'll have access to more high quality type of materials. So you want to make sure you get them good graphite pencils. You want to make sure that they have different types. Like these are oil paints. This is, I think you pronounce it DAJedu, type of paint. You want to get them, they can finally, they're old enough to use acrylic paints and, block paints and, all those things that, create just amazing, amazing pictures and amazing paintings that you couldn't use with your younger children. Now it's time to use it with your older children. They may not be using just regular printer paper. Now they may be coloring on canvas. Get them the best paintbrushes you can afford. Get them the best colored pencils that you can afford. Just do it so that they can have really, really high quality products. And it doesn't just have to be painting like Picasso. It can be, painting any type of way, getting out that creative expression, letting your child find their voice in pictures. The reason why there's a whole field of art therapy is because art is therapeutic. And so you want to, don't think that your child doesn't want to do arts and crafts just because they're older. Now, I'm not saying that you gotta, strap your 16-year-old to the table and put a can of Play-Doh in front of them and tell them they have to do it. This isn't about forcing. It's just about knowing that doing arts and crafts, even though they're older, that doesn't mean that it's not school time. Doesn't mean that they're wasting their time. I know one of the things that I notice in my classroom is that my college students that have a passion and have an interest in a hobby, they tend to do so much better in school. They're my students that actually do get out in 4 years. They're my students who, when it's time to come up with a speech topic, they can think of a topic, and it's not a lot of effort. It doesn't take a lot of time. They have passion around it. They do much more high quality visuals, that sort of thing, because they love what they do. So encourage your child to continue with the hobby. And another thing that I see a lot of people do is as children get older, as they become young adults, a lot of people think that just because they're not good at something, they shouldn't do it. I know my kids run track, and in the 5 to 8 year old category, there's like 1,000 kids because everybody just lets their kids go and run. But as the ages get older, there's less and less kids, and I don't think it's because kids lose passion for it and it's not fun, I think is because people think that as you get older, you have to start getting better. And if you don't, okay, you've been running track for 5 years and you've never won. So what? It's still exercise, it's still moving, it's still enjoying yourself. So, we all know that our 6-year-olds need to go out and have fun and run around and have a good time. But you know what? Your 16-year-old also needs to be able to go and run around and have a good time. Your 18-year-old needs to, be able to figure out how are they going to keep physical fitness and physical education in their life. We all do kids in the kitchen when they're 5 and 6 and 7 years old, but what are you doing to make sure that your 18-year-old, when they're out the door, they can cook good, healthy food and all that kind of stuff. So don't forsake that hands-on learning, hands-on environment just because your kids are getting older. Because as they get older, that's when the passions really start. That's when the deep passions really start. That's when they start to do things and not just get through it, but do it well and absolutely blow your mind and blow their mind. Give your child a lot of opportunity as an older child, as a teenager, as a young adult. Give them a lot of opportunities to do things well, to have fun, to make beautiful things, to gain confidence in their own skills and their own abilities. And sometimes that absolutely has to be done outside the book. Yes, visual verbal is important. You have to know how to read and you have to know how to read well. But that doesn't mean that there's no time for creative expression. That doesn't mean that you can't do hands-on learning. Doesn't mean you can't make fun videos. Doesn't mean you can't do plays. It just means that we have to balance out all the skills. So, hope this helps. This is Dr. J, and I'm out. Bye-bye.